Hello and welcome to another Tutorial Tuesday. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we're trying to kick out the videos again now because the 3D printing has been taking over a bit. It's been using up all of our spare time having to go down there and work on the printers. Now, those of you who follow us on Instagram, if you don't follow us on Instagram because you get lots of behind the scenes bits, will know that we've been experimenting with making our own controller and quite successfully have done it. A big shout out to Brad Wigg, who on our video about slow running on DC said one of the best ways of doing it is to make your own controller using PWM, which stands for Permanent Wave Modulation, or something like that, Permanent Wave Module. But we'll just use PWM for short, and it's easy. So today we're going to be showing you how to make your own controller. Now you need to get two components off the internet first, which is this PWM unit. The link for this will be in the description because this video is only for how to do it with these units, because these are the units we have. They're quite cheap. I think this is something like £2 and this is £3. So you need the PWM unit, the one with the switch, link in the description, and the 12 volt AC adapter, AC to DC adapter, that comes with one of these things to transfer the power to your standard wires. Now to build this we will be using tools that were in the basic toolkit, the video we did last week. So we'll be using the wire cutters slash strippers and the small Phillips head screwdriver. Now one addition for this video, we will need to be using a 10mm spanner for part of it. But this is not required, it just makes it a lot easier. So let's start the tutorial. So the first bit we're going to do is connect the AC adapter for the charger thing into the PWM unit. Now on the reverse side of this there's a plus and a minus. Now they're the ports we're going to be using for this. On the reverse side of this there's a plus and minus right there. So we're going to connect up the positive to the positive and the negative to the negative to avoid short circuits. Now for this, we're going to be using two small bits of wire to keep it neat. I've cut these to 5 centimeters, but you can make them how long you want. I'd say the shorter is the neater. And strip both ends. Now you can do all of that with your wire cutters and strippers. I've got one in red, which stands for positive, and one in black, which stands for negative. So what you're going to want to do is look on here for the positive one, push it in, and then with your Phillips head screwdriver, just screw it in. Now this is great because, like it says in the title, it means to make this controller you do not need to have a soldering iron or use a soldering iron at all. And then put your negative wire into your negative. Now you can use any colour wire you want. Normally we just use all red wire because we have a big reel of red wire, but for the simplicity of this video, just to make it easier to understand, I went and found some black wire to do this. So we've got the negative wired up and the positive wired up into this. Now we need to wire up the positive and the negative into this. So again, we're looking for the one there where it is labelled positive and negative. We're going to put the red wire into the positive and the black wire into the negative. Put it down and screw it in. Now it's quite important you screw these in nice and tightly so the wires don't come out, because as a controller it's going to be getting knocked around a little bit on your layout. There we go, that's in. Now this is great as well because it generally doesn't leave any exposed wire, so there's no need for heat shrink or insulation tape. Now that is basically essentially the controller built. The last thing we need to do is get two wires and wire up the output so we can connect this to our track. So what we're going to do is exactly the same. These ones aren't labelled because it doesn't really matter which one goes in what, but I'm going to put the negative in the right hand one and screw that in, and the positive in the left hand one, like that. And it was literally that simple. This is now your controller built. You have your input here where you plug in your AC/DC adapter, and this will then be plugged in the wall. This is a British plug, we're British. It then goes in. Now this is the effectively command center of your controller. This is the control board. Now this has your speed dial here, which you can rotate clockwise to speed up and anti-clockwise to stop. Once you hear that click, that is start and stop. Now also on that circuit board is this switch here. When it's in the middle, so it's on the 0, that means no power. When it's at the 1, it's going forwards, and when it's at the 2, it's going backwards. So that's effectively a controller, and then these wires here that aren't connected to anything, these go to your track to power it. So that is effectively your controller, but it doesn't look very nice. So we went ahead with a 3D printer and printed a nice little box, and we will be selling these boxes on our website. So click the link in the description. The links in the description will be to buy this, which will cost not very much, and all of the components you see here. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to put these components into the box. Alright, so the first step to put your PWM unit inside the box is to gently, where the switch goes into the circuit board, pull on the white tab to remove it, like that. Do not pull directly on the wires, as you might pull them out of the tab, and then that's going to get complicated and not make this build as simple as it should be. Now, don't worry, if you do pull them out, they should just push back in, but try not to pull them out. The next step is to gently remove the knob, like that. Set it to the side, obviously it's still important, and then here there will be a nut and a washer. Unscrew the nut, set that to the side, and take the washer off and set that to the side as well. Right, now when you receive your controller box in the post, it will look like this. Now very simply, just get your nail under an edge and pop the lid off like that for the first step. Then with your switch unit, find the camera. With the switch unit, put the white tab in through the front, and then you're ready to put your switch in through the square hole there. Now it doesn't matter what way up you do it, but I like to put the 1 on the top and the 2 on the bottom, and when you push it in, you should hear a nice confirming click like that, and that is now in there nice and secure, as you can hear. Alright, the next step is to get your input adapter in. Now this is going to need to go in the hole there that says input. So from the inside, you're going to need to lie it down like that. And then you can see it's quite fiddly, but you can see there it coming through, and push it in the whole way until it won't go in anymore. There we go, that's the input in. Right, the next step is to get your PWM circuit board inside. Now I'm just going to get all these wires untangled so they don't get in our way. So what you're going to need for this is to pull it back carefully, do not pull any of the wires out, and push where the knob would be attached through the hole there. Now it's going to be quite wobbly and loose, the circuit board inside, but that is what the washer and the nut is for. So the next step is to get the washer, put that over, and the nut, put it over, do not screw it on yet. Now position the unit roughly in the centre of the hole, right there, and then you can start doing this with your finger, but we recommend you use the 10mm spanner, which just speeds things up and makes it a lot easier. So you can go around and fasten it in there. Now on the inside, check that your PWM unit is level. Doesn't need to be, but it looks a lot neater if it is. And then screw it on. You can see it's almost on now. There we go. Right, Now the switch that you unplugged earlier now needs to be plugged back in. Now it will only go in one way, so if you're trying to put it in the wrong way, like I am now, it won't go in. Do not push it if it doesn't go in. This way it will go in. Now support it by putting your finger under the unit and push it in. There we go. There is no satisfying click, but it will be in because it won't come back out. Now, the next step is to get your wires for the lead, which go to the track, and they need to come out of the track hole. So, it doesn't matter which wire comes out of which hole, just push a wire out of one hole, and the other wire out of the other hole. And this can actually be quite fiddly, but there you go. Alright, now what you're going to want to do is push them wires in there so it's nice and flat inside. Now this knob here, make sure that the control unit is turned all the way anti-clockwise, and then with the dash on the knob, point that directly down, like that. You can see there, it's directly down. This means when you turn it, as soon as it clicks, it's in line with the beginning of the arrow. And the arrow shows you the direction for speed. Now the final step is to get your lid for the box, and in reverse of how you got it off, put it on, push down on all the corners and the edges, and you heard the click, and that is your Budget Model Railways controller built. You've got the track wires coming out of the rear, we have a positive and a negative there, and your input also coming out of the rear, that plugs in like that. The friction holding it in means you can't push it back inside the unit very easily. Now on the right hand side there is nothing, it is plain. On the front you have your speed and also your forwards, off and backwards, so your direction. On the left hand side you have a big grill basically. Now this is to keep the unit cooled. We've been testing it all day today, running it in the loft, again you would have seen that if you follow us on Instagram, and by the end of the running, probably been running for close to 7 hours, we took the lid off and felt inside and none of it was even warm, it was still cold inside, so that vents definitely help with that. On the lid you got our Budget Model Railways branding there, and again 2 more vents at the back just to keep it cooled because hot air rises, so it's important to have some on the lid. On the reverse here we've got obviously our input port and our track ports. Now these are labelled simply for simplicity of use. And on the underside we've got 2 holes here. Now if you take the lid off, these are accessible from the inside. You can see there's one in there and one there. Now these are so that you can screw in your controller onto your baseboard if you do not want it to be moved. So the good thing with these controllers are the units are nice and cheap. Together the whole electronic component costs around £5, and these Budget Model Railways boxes that we sell them in that are designed for these units are cheap as well. So basically you can have a whole controller that is PWM, permanent wave modulation, so it will run very well. We'll put some clips up in a minute of how slow this will run locos and also how fast it will run locos. Because it's PWM, it'll run very slow, but it'll also run locos very fast. So it's great if you want to do some shunting and have locos going nice crawling speed, and it's great if, like me, you've got my TGV running around the loft, you just want out on full speed because it looks awesome. So we'll show you the clips now of it running slow and fast. So here we go, testing the controller on slow speed running. Now this is the tiny industrial layout you've seen before, and the curves are only 7-inch radius, so the diameter from here to there is only 15 inches, which means that this is going around an insanely sharp curve with very little straight to accelerate. It's happily pulling around 2 wagons, and it is going at that speed, which is literally nothing. As you can see there as well, it's running over points perfectly fine, and the frogs on these points are actually quite large, so to be able to run over them is very useful. So if you'd like to make one of these controllers for yourself, check the link in the description for where we brought the AC/DC adapter and the PWM unit. Now, this probably isn't the only place you can buy them from, but it's where we brought them from. And if you want to make this specific controller, then you will need to buy the exact same PWM units. And also check the link in the description for where you can buy our custom housings, which we'll be selling for £3.50. So in total, you can make an entire controller for less than £10, and it's a really good controller because it uses PWM. So thanks for watching another Budget Model Railways video, and remember to check back on Friday for the next video.
Hi, thanks for watching the video and for the nice comments. Click on the left for a previous video in this series, click on the right for another video you might enjoy, and please don't forget to click to subscribe, like, comment, etc. Thanks again.